That is the first emperor's tomb. And it's at the center of what is thought to be the largest burial complex in the world.
The discovery is completely unique. We have terracotta servants who could serve him.
They also find the head of the terracotta warriors. And the archaeological team came to this area and they start to dig.
For over 2,000 years, a vast army lay hidden beneath China's soil, silent, unseen, and forgotten by the world above. When modern technology finally learned how to study their faces, it didn't uncover names. Instead, it changed how history understands the people who once stood rooted in this land. This is where dirt meets destiny. In the spring of 1974, severe drought gripped the countryside near Xi'an. Wells dried up, farmland split open, and families were forced to dig deeper than any generation before them just to survive. Then, one farmer's shovel hit something solid. It wasn't packed earth or buried stone. It was hollow, delicate, and unmistakably shaped by human hands. After more than 2,000 years sealed in darkness, a clay face finally broke through the soil. At first, the discovery looked like scattered debris, shattered torsos, broken hands, fragments of armor. But the pieces didn't stop coming. More figures appeared, arranged in precise lines, placed with intention rather than chance. What began as a desperate search for water quickly turned into the reopening of a long-sealed chapter of history. Government officials arrived, and urgency gave way to careful excavation. Beneath the farmland lay the edge of an underground structure, one far more complete and preserved than anyone could have imagined. This was not a lone statue or the remains of an abandoned shrine. It marked the outer limits of something enormous, carefully planned, and deeply political. An army created to stand beyond death itself, designed to protect an empire meant to endure forever. Long before these figures were buried, China was not yet a unified nation. It was a land of constant conflict, divided among rival states fighting endlessly for land, loyalty, and survival. From the western regions, one kingdom rose through strict discipline and raw strength. Its laws rewarded obedience and crushed weakness with severe punishment. Its ruler believed unity could only be achieved through total control. In the 3rd century before the Common Era, that belief became reality. Wars ceased. Borders vanished. Power was drawn into a single ruling state. Weights, money, and written language were standardized, erasing regional differences. Roads and massive walls spread across the land, carrying the authority of the new empire to every corner. Yet, this great victory brought new fears. Triumph in life did not promise safety in death. The emperor knew that enemies never truly disappear. They simply wait for another moment to rise. To defend his power beyond the grave, he ordered the creation of something never attempted before, a vast burial world beneath the earth designed to reflect his empire and protect it for eternity. This would become the Underground Army. Construction of the funerary complex began long before the empire itself was fully finished. Craftsmen shaped soldiers from clay, forming them at life size and arranging them in massive pits surrounding the central tomb. No two faces were the same. Hairstyles varied. Armor differed in design and weight. Each figure was posed like a battle-hardened warrior, locked forever in duty. The sheer scale was overwhelming. Thousands of soldiers stood in precise formations. Behind them, horses and chariots waited as if ready to charge. Officers and generals occupied their proper ranks, recognizable by their heavier armor and calm, commanding expressions. These figures were not meant as symbols. They were created to serve. They were modeled after the real military formations that had once conquered the known world, and the weapons buried alongside them left no doubt about their purpose. Bronze swords, spears, and crossbow mechanisms showed remarkable craftsmanship, some blades still sharp despite centuries spent underground. This was not art made to be admired. It was a fighting force built to operate, carefully positioned where the emperor believed it would be needed most. a unit prepared for service beyond death. The soldiers were not placed at random. They were deployed with precision. The largest pit formed the core of the army, with long rows of infantry facing forward, as if awaiting commands. Archers guarded the flanks, ready to counter attacks from either side. Behind them stood heavily armoured officers, their presence commanding authority. In another pit, the army revealed its adaptability. Cavalry units stood beside chariots. Crossbowmen were arranged for rapid engagement, while infantry filled the spaces between, positioned loosely, suggesting motion and readiness rather than ceremonial display. These layouts followed the logic of warfare, not artistic symmetry. A smaller pit completed the overall design. Here, high-ranking officials were positioned around a central command area, the control center of the underground army. Together, the pits formed a massive military network sealed safely beneath the earth. Even in death, order remained. Command, discipline, and hierarchy were never broken. Yet one tomb has never been touched. Beyond the ranks of soldiers lies the core of the funerary complex, a central mound rising quietly from the plain. Ancient texts offer clues to what may be hidden below: underground palaces, vast treasures, and elaborate defenses, all built to endure forever. Unlike the army, this inner chamber remains sealed. Archaeologists have mapped its boundaries, but have deliberately chosen not to enter. Part of the reason is technical. The surrounding soil contains traces of mercury, matching historical descriptions of flowing channels meant to recreate the empire's rivers. The danger of exposure is serious, and the challenge of preservation is immense. Opening the tomb too soon could destroy what has survived untouched for thousands of years, and so the emperor remains entombed, surrounded by silence. The army stands ready, but its moment is still on hold. This restraint marks one of the rarest choices in archaeology, not deciding what can be uncovered, but choosing what should remain untouched, at least for now, even in an age where machines can recognize faces. For decades, archaeologists studied the army through careful excavation and visual inspection. Each figure was recorded, restored, and catalogued, yet the deeper patterns remained hidden. Differences in facial features could be seen, but they were too subtle and complex to measure at scale. Human eyes could recognize individuality, but they could not quantify it. That changed when researchers turned to artificial intelligence. Using three-dimensional scans and deep learning models, AI systems analyzed the faces of hundreds of warriors. They measured proportions, contours, and relationships with statistical accuracy, distinguishing one face from another, even accounting for damage and centuries of erosion. I cannot tell us the names or lives of these individuals, but it can reveal just how unique and how consistent their faces truly were. What the data showed was striking. This was not an army stamped from a few shared molds. These faces were intentionally crafted, with variation built in, not for speed or convenience, but by design. For the first time, individuality could be proven with mathematics rather than assumption. As the analysis expanded, patterns began to surface, connections no human observer had noticed before. Artificial intelligence went beyond facial features. It compared armor designs, headgear, body posture, and placement within the formations. The differences were not random, they appeared in clusters. Certain traits repeated together again and again, revealing a level of order that initially seemed to contradict artistic expression. Instead, the patterns followed military logic. Soldiers wearing the same armor were positioned together. Variations in stance and equipment pointed to specific battlefield roles. What once looked chaotic became structured when viewed at scale. The army was never disordered. It was organized differently, divided into smaller functional units. Through technology, a hidden system buried in the earth was finally exposed, offering a glimpse into how the emperor's royal forces were once arranged and commanded. The warriors were not placed at random or frozen in time without purpose. They were arranged exactly as a real army understands itself. Slowly, a chain of command began to emerge. Even decades after excavation first began, the ground continued to offer surprises. In one of the additional pits, archaeologists uncovered a figure unlike the rest. The armor was more refined, the stance more confident, the details sharper and more deliberate. This was not a frontline fighter, but someone used to issuing orders. High-ranking officers within the army are rare. Only a small number have been identified, each marked by carefully sculpted symbols of authority in clay. Their placement within the pits reveals leadership roles and tactical positions, reinforcing the strict hierarchy built into the underground formation. This discovery reshaped the idea of completeness. Even after 50 years of study, the army continued to reveal its highest ranks. The message became clear. This burial was not a static monument, but a living record, one that slowly unfolds as the earth releases its grip. Low levels of mercury on the central mound added another layer of mystery. Long before anyone considered opening the emperor's tomb, scientists searched for indirect evidence of what lay beneath. Modern detection methods revealed unusually high mercury concentrations in the soil surrounding the burial chamber, aligning with ancient descriptions of underground channels flowing beneath the tomb. The mercury was not simply decorative. In the ancient world, it symbolized power and permanence, and was believed to protect against decay. Another sign that what lay hidden below was carefully planned to endure beyond time. If it still exists beneath the earth, it confirms an ambition that reached beyond stone and soil into the realm of chemistry itself. The mound remains sealed, yet the evidence slowly escapes. Even without opening the tomb, traces of its design are still detectable today, reminders that some creations were meant to last quietly, undisturbed. And the emperor is still waiting. The army remains exactly where it was placed, their faces turned toward a future their creator could never have imagined. Modern machines can now measure their features with precision, but they cannot recover their lives. Beneath the surface, the emperor sleeps, his world preserved, guarded by silence. Proof that power can protect secrets as effectively as any wall of stone. They were built for eternal defense, and today we are invited to look closer than ever before. Technology can reveal form, but it cannot explain purpose. If this story has changed how you see the Terracotta Army, like the video, subscribe for more stories, and share your thoughts below. History survives when we choose to engage with it. Yes,